All right, what is up, sister friend? Welcome to another episode of Heart to Heart with Coach Emily. Today we have a special guest, Katy Smith. I didn't know your last name for a second. I only know you as Katy Adventure Coach. So, Katy Adventure Coach. We're having her on the episode today. So, Katy, I'm gonna let her introduce herself. But how I know Katy is actually just fate. All of the most awesome people in my life, I swear, it's just like worlds colliding and just meant to happen. So I had actually I go to therapy, as I recommend all of you go to therapy as well. Here in our area, it's called IOME. It's like a self-care center, and they have a website. And I was like, I'm going to click on this thing, and they have all these partnerships. And Katy was one of them. And I'll let Katy describe what being an adventure coach really means. But I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Got on a call with Katy. She trained me from January till like last month.
Yeah.
So last month, and you guys have no idea what that means. So in August, so January to August helped train me to learn everything about solo backpacking. And then we just became friends over that time. And so, Katy, I want you to introduce yourself. What does it mean to be an adventure coach, who you are, where you're at, all that beautiful stuff.
All right, let's go. I am an adventure coach. I'm pretty sure I made that up, the whole adventure coaching thing. So what I'm up to is helping women create big adventure goals for themselves, set these big adventure goals. And then what I help them do is train to show up fully prepared for those adventure goals. So I help women with fitness, nutrition, skills, like the outdoor skills is a big part of it. We talk about logistics and gear of their adventure goal. So it's all customized. And I love helping women like yourself create confidence through doing something challenging, like hiking their first 14er or doing their first solo backpacking trip. So that's what adventure coaching is. And I loved it. And I loved working with you, Emily. It was so fun.
I know, it's so great. I loved it. So, and we'll put all the links to get to like look, get connected with Katy in the show notes. But so you hear adventure coach, right? And so everybody, every time I told someone like, oh, I have an adventure coach, they'd be like, what the hell is an adventure coach? Like, that is so cool. And I think it's super important. I'm super excited to have you on this episode because you're just like one of the coolest. You're just so cool. You're just the coolest. No, just nobody's like adventuring like Katy out in the world out there, right? Like, okay, if you start following Katy, these are the things you'll start to see. Okay, in Colorado, where she lives, is freezing. Katy goes out in shorts. She's just out there, just like she just so. I just like there's so many layers to Katy. So I want you to make sure you guys follow her. But talk to us a little bit about your background, Katy, how you got started in backpacking and guiding and all of that.
Yeah. Well, so I'm a veteran. I was in the Army for 4 years. I was an officer, a field artillery officer in the Army, and this is way back. So I'm probably starting a little too far back, but
That's okay. Go for it.
really the story starts there. I remember when I was training for the Army and we had like special like field trip kind of things, and we would do like land navigation and really a lot of like outdoor in the woods like training kind of things, and I loved it. I always felt like home there. I really enjoyed like nighttime land navigation when everybody else was like really kind of freaked out. I was like, this is so fun. And I really loved it. And so I loved being out there. I loved pushing my comfort zone all the time. So when I got out of the Army, I didn't really have a plan for myself. And so I took a road trip around the United States, and my dad actually had a friend that was a raft guide in Colorado on the upper Colorado River outside of Vail. And my dad suggested that I stop to see him. And so I did. And I got on a raft trip with this guy, and I loved it. I like was just so in love with the river and the area. Um, I knew I needed to be there. And so he offered this guy, this like head guide at this company offered for me to go through raft guide training with him the next year. And so I did. I took him up on the offer. That was a year, like a record high water year for the Colorado River. It was huge water. I guided like, I don't know, 70 trip days in a row on the water, just like day after day, 2 trips a day, sometimes 3 trips a day, just guiding whitewater raft trips. It was so fun.
Saying, guys, this is why she's if you've been whitewater rafting, okay, first of all, like, also the Colorado River. This is why you're so bad. Like, that's insane. Like, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, it was intense, but I loved it. And I loved, it's like 2 hour trips with people or whatever. And then I did that for 2 years. So I was guiding for this company for 2 years. And then I actually kind of stepped into a different role on the river. I was still on that same river, but I was actually a BLM river ranger, so a Bureau of Land Management river ranger. So I worked for the federal government, and I was um, river patrol. So we rafted every day on that same stretch of river, but just kind of in a different capacity. I was doing a lot of maintenance along the river. I was rescuing people if they needed help. Lots of cleanup and trash duty, and we won't get into that part, but lots of things like that, and just like monitoring and interacting with the people, the outfitters. I did a lot of educating as far as like leave no trace goes and river ethics. So I did that BLM river ranger job for I think 4 or 5 seasons. So that was a really fun, like different perspective on the river too, outside of guiding.
My God, that's so crazy.
It
So,
was so fun.
do you think that river guiding, like, when you were in the military, I know a little bit about your story. You don't have to give all of the vulnerable pieces of your life in here right now, but do you feel that like transitioning from army to river guiding was like the transition you needed to build your confidence as like a woman in that space? Because just like personally, it's mostly men, and it's, you have to be a leader as a river guide. Like, you're yelling at people who have no idea what they're doing, and they're just like placed in a raft and are like, you're like, oh, let's stay on the boat, please. Like, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I definitely think that having a leadership, background with the Army helped step into the role of being a whitewater raft guide and being out there day after day and with new people on your raft. And really, I think almost like leadership plus my background in sociology. So I studied sociology in
Yeah.
college. Yeah. And so like I feel like I would like sociology is like study of people in a group
People.
scenario, and
Yeah.
so like I really had to do that on these rafting trips. I'd play, really read the group as far as like where I wanted people to sit and what their strengths would be and helping us get down the river safely, and just how to interact socially with people too, like who I wanted to kind of focus on talking to and who I could count on in, a situation if I needed that help. And not only that, but also like the other guides, if I had a multiple guide trip, just really dealing with the group as a leader did show. And I was older than a lot of the guides too, coming in a little bit later than a lot of the people that I was guiding with helped too, because I already had some life experience behind me too. So it was a great transition, and it really like I was able to like really step away from the Army and
Yeah.
like be like that is done, and now this new life is before me, and I really enjoyed that like transition.
So what made you take sociology in college?
I don't know. Like I tried psychology. Like I thought psychology would be interesting to me. I didn't really connect with it as much. And my dad had studied sociology, so I thought it was kind of like, kind of a broad enough subject because I really had no idea what I was gonna do.
Yeah,
After I graduated college, I had no plan for myself.
I feel
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
also took some sociology classes. Those classes I loved, same. I loved anything where I could like learn about people and like any I feel you because like I was, same. I was also a very lost puppy in school, so I can totally resonate. Also, like I hated school so much, and so any of the classes that added more stress to my life, I was like not taking those. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So, but sociology is is such a cool or such cool classes to take, but it's so cool to me how you mesh everything together. Like, and I know like if y'all are on the East Coast, there is whitewater rafting, but out here in Colorado, like rafting, guiding, hiking, all of that's like that's the thing. That's what we do out here. But I think it's cool that there's like this softness, like this sociology, like love of people, learning to work with people, and then this just like badassery of river. I just river guiding is just the craziest job I just like because whitewater rafting is so scary. So like the fact that you're just like doing it every day, I literally can't get over.
I got so strong. It was so fun. Like, I was rowing boats. So in rafting, there's like paddle guiding where like the guide has just one paddle and then they're yelling at everyone a lot. What I was doing was an oar rig. And so I had two big oars. And so I had full control of the boat. I didn't have to yell at people as much,
Oh, okay.
just in like special times. But I was ripped. I mean, because I was like pushing this huge boat full of people down the river every day after day. I had like my shoulders and arms were so strong. It was so fun.
I can only imagine. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. So after river guiding,
Yeah.
when did you kind of decide like I'm going to start like my own business and start training women to do these backpacking trips and all of these things?
Well, so there's like a little part that happened. So where I wanted to say station, but I was like definitely not stationed there. I was like living.
I was a normal person.
Was a normal person living on the river. But we were out in the middle of nowhere, nothing to do, no cell phone service, no Wi-Fi at the time, like nothing like really happening down there. So I would like after I got off the river, I had a dog too. So I would like go and hike. And I didn't know what I was doing as far as hiking goes. I didn't have like the confidence. I had some confidence from being in the army, being outdoors and things like that. But I started hiking with my dog just in the middle of nowhere, like really progressively. So like the first time I went out, like I like parked my car and I like hiked like a half a mile and then went back to my car and I was like, okay, cool. All right, did that.
I did it. I did it.
I had like I know like way to contact anybody. I was out in the middle of nowhere by myself. So I really just kind of like naturally just like did this like progressive training for myself. So then like next time I was like I went a mile out and went back and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot like my water that time. And so I'm like, okay, don't ever forget your water. And so like always have water with you. And I didn't know what time it was, so I like had like a watch with me. So I like just kind of created confidence for myself in like hiking while I was out there being a raft guide. And then when I was a BLM River Ranger, I had 3 days off a week. And so I really started doing a lot bigger hikes. And that's when I started learning for myself. I had to go through a wilderness first aid course. I went, I was just more confident. I was more connected. I had radios with me when I was out hiking for work. So like I just kind of learned these skills, picked up these skills as I went. And then one spring, like kind of, because all of these jobs are seasonal. So I never had like a 12-month a year job.
Right.
So I always kind of had to fill in the gaps with like things here and there. One spring, I saw on Craigslist an advertisement for a guide for a veterans
Like high.
fundraiser trip.
Oh,
Yeah, it
cool.
was like a backpacking trip for this foundation that was helping this veterans organization. And so I applied for that and got an interview and actually got hired as the lead guide for this like 100-person trip. There were 10 guides, like 10 people per guide kind of thing. It was a 5-day backpacking trip. Full disclosure, I had never backpacked before. Don't tell, don't tell anybody that.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I figured it out. I got hired for this trip and I was very confident in my hiking skills by then. I was very confident in my multi-day guiding skills by then. So now all I had to do is like go and backpack a couple of times before leading this trip and I felt good about it. So
I love that. I love
I can't,
that.
I know it was so fun. I like just stepped into this role. Anyway, so I guided this trip with 10 veterans. Some of the trip was like other, like just like donors, like, you know, people that had
Yeah.
donated money for this trip. But I got like the veterans because I was a veteran and
Right.
the owner of this organization was like, yeah, you get the veterans. And I was out there with like 10 veterans for 5 days, going through some really challenging things. Not all of them were not prepared
Mm,
physically necessarily for this challenge. And so what I got to see out there over 5 days was um the challenge that everyone, like the different challenges everyone had as far as like this
yeah.
5-day hike went, and
Yeah.
then how they supported each other, how we were really like covering down for each other. We were um helping, we were checking in, and we were really deeply connected by 5 days. By the end of 5 days, we were like a solid team,
Besties. Yeah.
besties, and I'm still connected with those people. It's so fun. And so after that, I was like, oh, backpacking guiding is such a deeper connection for people with me, for people. Like with whitewater rafting, it was like 2 hours and you're done, go back to wherever you came from. But like backpacking is like 5 days, 7 days of really deep connections, really struggling through stuff, really problem solving through challenges. And stuff comes up for people out there and like, you know, emotions and things. And I was like, this is what I want to do forever.
I love that. That made me emotional. Like that is so beautiful. So I just really want people to hear this. Like, I don't know if even you see it, Katy, because I think sometimes you never see yourself the way I see you, but the risk you took. There is a million reasons you could have not done that trip. And,
Yeah.
you know, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it and see what happens. And it changed your whole life. If you didn't do that, like, who knows what your life would look like right now? And like, the other really beautiful piece of that I think is important that everybody sees is like life happens on the edge of scary, right? Like leading other human beings backpacking that you've never done, like leaded in that capacity before, taking that risk and being like, all right, like I'm gonna do the best I can, and like coming out on the other side, I was like, this is what I was meant to do. That
Yeah.
is so beautiful. Like that is just, I live for stories like that because you are destined for more and you chose to do something terrifying and see what was going to happen. And so when that was mostly men, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And the next 2 years, I guided for a different veterans organization out of Fort Collins. And I led 24-ish 7-day backpacking trips for disabled specific veterans over the next 2 years. and it was mostly men. We did some like women specific trips, and there was always maybe a couple of women here and there through the trips that we led through those expeditions. But at some point in those 2 years of guiding with this organization, I was like, I love this, and I've learned so much about guiding. I've become a really solid guide. At some point, I wanted to I wanted to do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to work for a veterans organization. I loved what we did for the veterans, but I wanted to choose the people who came out with. I wanted to like provide this programming in the wilderness
Yeah.
differently, similar but differently. I wanted to be more mindful, more like yoga focused. And so in 2018, that's when I started Intentional Adventures, which is my business.
Let's go. And
Yeah.
so with intentional adventures, what was your intention, right? Like what was your intention with like that business, and also just like your true entrepreneur spirit? We as entrepreneurs, we're like, this is awesome. I want to do it my way, right? Like I feel like that's all of us. We're like, I like my way and I want to do it the
Yeah.
way I want to do it. And I think that's what makes great entrepreneurs, because you have a vision and you have like a, like this is what I want it to just, I know what it needs. So when you started Intentional Adventures, yeah, like what was your intention? Like what did you want the experience to be for people?
Yeah, I saw so much transformation happening through this veterans program. So I wanted to provide that, but with like this yoga aspect, this like mindfulness aspect, this connected to nature aspect. So what I wanted to provide was 5 day, 4 night backpacking trips for women, where we would go out, we would journal, we would set an intention, day one of this 5 day backpacking trip, and reconnect to that. We would do yoga every morning, yoga every night. We'd eat really healthy, mindful food out there, and we just have this deep connection. And that's the vision. And then they would leave having lived this intention over the last 5 days in the backcountry and take that with them into their real lives. That was my vision for Intentional Adventures at the time.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I could totally like, I mean, that, yeah, I want to do one. I want to do one. Like, so like, I know for my solo backpacking trip, you kind of mentioned that like things come up. And that's like, for those of you that love nature, being out in nature, like nature is such a space to like get it all out, right? And like, and like revelations come to you when you're out there. Like I know on my like practice training hike, so much came up for me, and so much like it was so powerful. And and I had then afterwards had a lot of stuff to work through, because the hike was like, hey, we have things we need to work on essentially. And you don't realize that a kick-ass hike, and I mean kick-ass like it kicks your ass, is going to like change you in a way. you
Mm,
know what
yeah.
were some of the changes like that you've experienced from your hikes?
Yeah, I think a lot of mindset stuff, and it's something I coached you through was like, take it from like, this sucks to this, like, how can this change me, or how can this grow me, or how am I getting stronger in the moment? So really discerning those things. A lot of people on trail, as I guide them, like, how they're showing up on trail is how they show up in real life. So if it starts raining and they're like, oh, this is the worst thing that could happen, this sucks, like, I just kind of imagine them in their commute to work or something, and they're just saying like, this sucks, and they just
Yeah.
have this mindset that this sucks. So what I help try to coach people through is like, how can you change that to like, how is this making me stronger? How is this like challenging me to get better? How can I like take this opportunity to like get better, or um have like different, change my gear, or something like that. And so for me, it was like hiking was something I did. Here's how it changed me. I've
Yeah.
fitness wise, for me, I've always wanted to get smaller. I've always wanted to lose weight. I always wanted to look a certain way. And so when it came to hiking and backpacking, I decided that that was going to be my goal as far as fitness goes. I want to be able to feel strong and confident no matter what the hike brings to me. So, um, that's kind of a mindset shift that happened to me. Instead of like going to the gym to like lose weight and get skinny
Yeah.
or whatever, I started going to the gym to get strong so I could hike. And so that
Yeah.
was a big like shift for me for sure.
Totally. And I
Yeah.
can speak to that as well. Like I experienced that too, like wanting to get as small as possible. But when you have like a performance goal, like hiking or something you have to do, weight and all of that, depending on what the goal is, like bikini competitor, obviously that's totally different. But something like hiking, or you want to run, or you want whatever you have, it doesn't matter. Like you got to just focus on training for that one
Yeah.
thing. And strength hiking is literally so crucial. Like I would guys on my one-on-one calls with Katy would be like, I'm strong, which I am strong, but the mountain will humble you. You will be humbled. You thought you were strong. You could be stronger. Cause like there's hikes where you like have to climb over damn trees with a 40-pound backpack on. And then you have to like walk up a hill and then down a hill and then back up a hill. And like it just wears you out in a different way. So totally, you need to be strong for hikes.
Yeah. Yeah, so like taking like this is so hard or this is so I'm so exhausted to taking like one of my mantras when I'm hiking, especially when it's really challenging, is strong legs getting stronger. So like I just repeat that in my mind. I'm like hiking up a really steep hill and I'm like strong legs getting stronger. And so like taking that mindset shift has really helped me because if you're like sitting here saying like this is really hard, this sucks, whatever in your mind, like why would you want to do that? Like why would you want to go out again? Like if you come back to your car and you're like, "Oh, that sucked." Like why would you even want to go hiking again? So like taking that to something
Yeah.
enjoyable or something challenging or an opportunity to get stronger or grow, like then you're going to want to do that again and it's going to be a more enjoyable experience, I think.
Yeah. And I think too, like the beautiful part of the challenge, right? Like, because it is super challenging, but it's a challenge you chose. I think that's something that I kept reminding myself, like, this was a challenge that I chose. And also, like, when it is hard, it's almost like, I wonder, you probably get into this like state. I'll get like shift into this state of like, this is really, really hard, but you're almost just allowing yourself to feel how hard it is and just like experience it just to experience. Does that make sense?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. My mantra I say for that is through challenge comes growth. And I'm growing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, cause I would feel like I would also do these things like when it was really, really hard and I would, be like, okay, it's allow it to be hard. It's okay that it's hard. Like you wanted to do something hard. Right. And so it's so the two, like you probably feel this way. There's like two, it's like back and forth in your head of like, fuck, I don't want to do this. Like, and then this other part that's like, this is a good thing. Like we want this, like keep on going, keep on going. And I know that for me, it's that constant back and forth when I was hiking. But anytime I'm doing anything hard, there's like the one side that's like, give up. And the other side's like, but we wanted this. Like, let's keep going. Let's keep going. And with the hiking, though, it's like, it's in your face, right? And you could probably speak to this more than me because if you're hiking, like, so I was hiking 9 miles and I was at mile like 4, or let's say I was at mile 3, right? Either way, if I give up, I still have to walk 3 miles back, right? So it was like, what do we
You're out
really?
there.
I'm already
You're
out here.
in it.
You're in it. So it's hiking is so, I don't know the word I want to use, but it's such like you either can keep going or you can turn around, but either way, it's going to be hard. It's like such a metaphor, like either keep
Mm.
going or turn around. Either way, it's going to be hard, because even if I'm 5 miles in and I want to quit, I still have to walk 5 miles back to my bloody car, you know?
Yeah, and that's when mindset comes in, and it's so important. And what I tell you, I think I told you this, like, you can visit suck, of course, like, yeah, okay, you can say it sucks, but don't live there, because then the whole thing is going to suck. And you're not going to want to do it again, and you're going to have a negative experience. So yeah, you can acknowledge the suck, and then and choose to shift your mindset around it and ask yourself, like, what's the opportunity here? How can I shift my focus to have a more positive experience? Or and I also want to say, at this point is a good time to bring up, like, resistance versus like intuition, right? And we talked about this, like, there's like we all have resistance to doing things that are challenging. So
Yeah.
like, one thing I coach people with is like discerning between, is this resistance telling me not to do something, or is this like a gut intuition type of thing telling me not to do something? And how I like to practice this is test the resistance. So when I like have a really early wake up, let's say for a hike, say 3:30 a.m. or 4 a.m., something ridiculous,
Yeah.
or even a workout, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. Well, I'm going to test the resistance by like taking the next step towards what I want to do, and that's like maybe put my shoes on or put my hiking clothes on, and then then I check in with myself again and I say, okay, do I still want to do, is there less resistance now? Like, am I gaining momentum towards doing this thing? And so, and then I take the next step. I get out in my car, maybe I drive to the trailhead and like sit there and I check in with myself. If this like gut instinct, like this, no, this isn't the right thing to do, if it still persists through all of these little baby steps to test that resistance, then I know that it is truly my intuition, my gut telling me I'm not ready for this, like physically, maybe skills wise, or maybe I didn't like do my risk assessment
Yeah.
properly for this hike, and I'm just not feeling fully prepared. And that's when I can listen to that gut intuition and then turn around or not go. But yeah, it's resistance is sneaky, it's like a sneaky little B word. Um, it can make all sorts of sounds.
Yeah.
And so discerning those two, so you don't push yourself through something that could potentially be an injury, or like, a risky situation like a lightning storm, or
Yeah.
go on a trail or something like that. So
No, I mean, I think that's like a golden nugget right there. Like, you guys could apply that to literally everything. And honestly, you just saying that right now, I kind of like had a self-assessment of like, I've been like leaning into resistance and taking it as like truth when it's really just resistance in a couple of things lately. Like, and you can
hmm,
apply it to, you can really apply that to anything. But I think what's so cool about these backpacking trips is because it's just so real. Like, it is, this is real lot, like real. Like, it's not like, I don't know how else to explain it, but there's just something about like, you need all of your shit. You have to make sure you have your, your food, your water, your all these stuff. And so you can't like play around and be like, you know what I'm saying? So like that resistance is so important to
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it is real life out there. I mean, anything can happen. And we one of the skills that you learned was like doing a risk assessment. And that's something I think you can apply to anything
Yeah.
too. Like,
Yeah.
not just hiking, but like, what is the risk? How can I mitigate for this risk? And do I want to go forward
Yeah.
after having done all of that?
No, totally. And I think like for me personally with like my journey and doing the backpacking, like that was so helpful because it's almost like meal prepping for your hike, but you're like doing it in all these other ways. Like, you're just prepping yourself. And, I posted about this on my Instagram about me learning about my resistance versus intuition. And my intuition, right, it told me like, Emily, it's too much for you to do this hike right now. And that was a really hard decision to make, but learning to listen to that intuition is so pivotal in so much of your life. Like, it's just, I think, so cool that it applies here as it does in so many other places.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like I said, how you show up on trail is how you show up in life, or vice versa, because it is applicable, because it is, like you said, real life out there. I mean, you've got what you've got on your back, the weather, you're not sheltered from weather, you're not sheltered from wildlife. I mean, you're in the wild, you're in the wilderness with
Yeah.
where anything can happen, and you either need to be prepared for it or not.
Or risk seeing a moose. That's so okay. When you know your intuition is talking to you, Katy, what does it feel like? Like, how do you, is it just like, you just know, you feel it in a certain way? Like, what is it like for you?
Yeah, for me, it's like it's deep down. It's like there's something's not right. I do my best to be fully prepared for whatever adventure I am doing. But if I'm out there and I have this knot in my belly, and I'm like, oof, like maybe I shouldn't do this hike today, or maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't try to push myself to the top. There's something wrong. And it's like, yeah, it's like a deep gut feeling. I can't explain it.
No, did I do your human design?
Yeah, you did. I can't remember what it was though.
I'm trying to see if, hold on, pause. I'm trying to see if I saved it, or is it in our WhatsApp chat? Did you
Oh
put it in
yeah,
the
I
WhatsApp?
bet it is.
Pause. Oh, here it is. I must see this because this actually might be a huge. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So the reason I bring this up, because you guys know I love all things energy and human design. And Katy feels this in her gut, deep, deep down. Okay. But Katy has a defined root and sacral um energy center, which that
Mm,
makes sense because you feel it there and you just know, you just have this, you just know because your body is literally like, no, ma'am, like not today, we ain't doing this, like kind of thing.
right.
Um,
Right.
and so, and everybody's intuition is so different, right? So that's why I was curious at how you feel your intuition. Um, for me, my intuition is like, I have to actually like step away and like
Mm,
be by myself. Like if I'm around you, I naturally like take on other people's energies. So I just will
mm.
be like, she's feeling this way. I think I feel that way too. Like I have to like be by
Wow.
myself. And then that's why like when I decided to not do my trip, I was like, I got to decide this on my own. Like I couldn't talk to
Yeah.
anybody really about it because then I'm very like, my intuition can be so swayed by other people because it's like
Mm.
other people's energies are so much more powerful than mine are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. So for you to practice, like, is this resistance or is this intuition? Like, knowing that is so important, because then you can take a step back from the situation and really check in with your intuition and talk to yourself. Even like, so if you were group hiking or group backpacking,
Yeah.
and they're like, should we keep pushing, or should we, it's getting dark or whatever, we haven't found camp yet, should we keep pushing or not, or go back? I could see you just like, hey, let me step away from the group and really tune in to like what my intuition is telling me here and make the decision from there. That's so important.
Yeah, it's huge and it makes such a big difference. And I think like if for those listening, if you like want something to test your intuition or test like really listening and connecting with yourself, doing one of these solo backpacking trips will expedite the process because you are by yourself. You are out in the woods by yourself. And like, I mean, and Katy probably has a million stories. I know for me that day I got lost, right? And I remember telling you that I was like, I had a moment of panic. I was like, oh my God. no one's going to find me. I have no service. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, obviously, I did my risk assessment and did my thing. Like, this is when I'll be back. But like, your brain immediately goes to like, you're going to die, you know? And so I had to like get calm, get centered, like
Mm.
really, you know? So it is like a huge like reflector and an opportunity for massive growth because it is just you and your backpack and the woods and you have no other choice kind of thing.
You're so vulnerable on trail. I think that's what it almost comes down to. Like, this
Yeah.
is such an opportunity to be vulnerable and and yeah, and I think that's beautiful in a way, like to be vulnerable, but also be prepared, have the skills, have the gear, have the fitness, have all of that style stuff dialed in, so that you're not vulnerable to a fault. You know, you want to be vulnerable and empowered almost out there.
Yeah.
That's like the balance I like to feel.
No, it's so true. And it's so, I just love that you created this because I think it's just such a cool thing that you've created and an opportunity for people to just do amazing things and continue to become amazing people. I would love to hear one of your, I'm sure you have a million, but maybe just one like favorite story of your time on trail.
Um, oh gosh, my favorite story on trail. Well, from a guide's perspective or like my personal experience.
Your personal experience.
Okay. So let's see. I hiked 7 days on the Colorado Trail between Copper Mountain and Buena Vista. So it was about 100 miles.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and I hiked my butt off, girl.
Yeah.
I was carrying like a 45-pound pack. It was late September, or it was like mid-September, so it's kind of late season. It
Cold.
snowed night one. Like, I was in it to win it. I was like, I had a goal. And I mean, I was hiking like 15 miles a day, sometimes a little bit more, like big hikes. And so one of my nights, I chose to stop at like a campground, like it was kind of like a vehicle accessible campground. So it wasn't just like in the backcountry on trail. And I found this spot, like I plopped down. I like was so exhausted
Yeah.
from the day, like just so tired. And I sat down and I was just there, you know, by myself. And I was like getting ready to like cook dinner. I put up my tent. I was like, just what, like questioning everything.
Yeah. Questioning all your life decisions. How did I get here?
And I was like, just, I'm ready to open up this like another packet of dehydrated gruel. My
Yeah, right.
body was like, at this point, my body was like, no more dehydrated. Please stop.
Can
Please
I
stop.
please get a salad, ma'am?
And like I hear like this like these footsteps coming over to my tent. And of course, like I'm like, what? Who is it? I'm ready to fight. Because I've been in the backcountry not talking to anybody for a long
Right.
time. But all of a sudden I'm surrounded by these people. And this cutest little old lady came up to me and she was like, honey, she's like, will you do you want to come eat dinner with us? And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, I didn't even
Oh,
ask, like, what are you having? Like, is it like gluten or dairy
I
free?
will be there.
I was like, yes, ma'am, I will be there. And it was like, so yes, I sat around this campfire and ate this most delicious burger I have ever had in my entire life. It was probably like a frozen JTM something, like whatever. I don't even care. It was so good. And it was just like so refreshing to like talk to people and connect. And so what I realized is like, yes, days on days on trail, like connecting to myself is so powerful. But what I really missed was that like deep connection with other humans. And so to get that in that moment was so powerful for me. And then like the next morning, I like I was reinvigorated almost. Like I was re-energized by that. Like not only the hamburger, the cheeseburger.
Not only the actual food I got to eat besides dried niblets.
Yeah. But just like that love, that just like
Yeah.
I'm here for you, like this human connection. And I just like sprung up the next morning and like and went on my way and just like filled with this like this love from other people and just like knowing that like humans are good and like yes, stepping away and having alone time and solo time in the backcountry is really good for me, but also like feeling loved by other people is so
Uh,
good. Yeah, that was a
so
good
that's an
moment.
amazing story. Oh my God. I love that so much. Also, just like, I think like the cool part about it is, you know, when you strip away everything when you're out there, right? You're completely disconnected. You're like Katie said, if you've never eaten a dehydrated meal, it works, like you're fed, but you're not like happy about it, right? So
Yeah.
like, so you're like bare bones in it, and just like someone's coming up to you and just being like, hey, like come eat dinner with us, like such a like a primitive normal thing, gave you all the energy that you needed to finish that hike. And like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That is just so amazing.
And it's so beautiful. I loved it.
I, that was a great story. I love. Then I think that says like volumes about just everything anyone needs to know about anything. Like
Yeah.
the that like you're out there growing, challenging yourself, but at the end of the day, the thing that kept you going was other people loving you, and
Yeah.
they had no reason to invite you, right? Like they just decided to, but it was everything you needed, and that's just so badass. So cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was such a good experience and it yeah, I challenged myself a lot that hike and I would do it again for sure. Um but those people really made it special.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Also, I'll say too, like, I think me and Austin always meet like the best people when we're camping. Like,
Yeah.
we really meet some awesome people when we camp. And I'm like, am I ever going to see you again? And they like live in like, you know, they live so far.
Who knows
Everyone wants
where?
to come
Yeah.
in here like to camp and stuff, and they live so far away. But that's
Yeah.
really cool. Oh, Katie.
Yeah.
Okay, so um people, I'm gonna put your stuff in the show notes. But Katie is Katy Smith, but her Instagram is Intentional Adventures,
Hmm.
and she also has. If you are in the Colorado area, Colorado Lady Hikers on Facebook. Do you have any like guiding trips coming up next year that you're planning?
I don't have any coming up. I tend to like start to plan like the first of the year for like the
Oh,
summer.
okay.
So I'll definitely be posting about that when I do. I'm stepping away from more guiding and doing more of the adventure coaching. I kind of transitioned from guiding to like skills instruction now to adventure coaching and adventure coaching kind of encompasses all of that. I just want to empower women to have the skills to have like be confident in their fitness levels and not to go out and do these things and have these experiences on their own without a guide, but I do still provide guided trip options too for people who aren't quite ready for that stuff. But yeah, I'll definitely be posting about that once I get the schedule lined out for the summer.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll get a group together and I'll just hire you to guide us. Like we'll pick a weekend or
Oh,
something. I just real quick before we go, I cannot imagine doing 7 days. I'm just like blown away that you did 7 days, because that is like so hard. So day
yeah.
my one day, I was like, imagine having to cook food right now. I'm so tired.
Well, that summer, that particular fall, I was doing 7-day trips regularly all summer, for work, for guiding. And so I was like, this is nothing. It was nothing.
It's nothing.
It's
Nothing.
nothing.
She's crazy. She's crazy. Katie, thank you so much. This was Katie's first ever podcast interview, so give her
Yay!
some love. I love talking to you, and I just love your story so much. So I appreciate you coming on here.
I appreciate you too, Emily. There's so many times in our coaching when I'm supposed to be coaching Emily, and I was like, who's coaching who here? Because she flipped the script and started coaching me on stuff. So I just appreciate you so much. And thanks for having me doing what you're doing. I love your podcast. I'm
Oh,
obsessed.
thank you. Thank you. Make sure you guys share this with your friends if you loved it. Get on an adventure coaching one-on-one session with Katy. And everybody have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Okay.